What I remember about entering into puberty and entering into my teenage years was realizing that life wasn't all joyful and noticing the anxiety in me and trying to investigate it. I think where I went wrong, if you could say that, was that I tried to really think my way through my anxious thoughts. So we all have anxious thoughts, right? We have thoughts that are passing through our minds every day that give us a sense of anxiousness. And what I was doing, I had this very overactive mind. And in these early teen years, I started to feel a lot of pressures, you know, the social pressures that we have, academic pressures. I had personal pressures on myself, expectations. And whenever I had these anxious thoughts, I would cling to them. I would see them in my mind and I would grab them and I would say, what is this anxiety? What is this anxious thought? I would investigate it. But the way that I investigated was thinking my way into anxiousness. Adding what they say in Zen, a head on top of a head. Anxious thoughts are the first head. It's normal to have these things. But when you go inside and you try and think your way out of them, and I think maybe you've done this in your lives as well, you've tried to think your way through anxiety, all it does is it just spirals and perpetuates that anxiety so that it gets worse and worse and worse. And this is what I was doing cognitively. I was going in and going, how can I think my way through this anxiousness? And in the process of it, I actually got more anxious. And I took passing thoughts that were just going to dissolve and actually embedded them into my body. I started manifesting the feeling of anxiety in my body. Now my mum, who had been practicing yoga and meditation, could see the existential dilemma that I was getting myself into. She could see it very clearly, and she thought it was in my best interest to go and meet her yoga teacher. Her yoga teacher, who I only know as Mr. Mohan, was actually an Indian guru who studied with Krishnamacharya and was in Singapore at the time where I was living. And I went to see him and he said, nothing wrong in your head, just wrong thoughts. He was basically telling me that my anxiety was something that I was creating in my own mind, which in hindsight, I think it was. And he said you can overcome this through breathing practices, through yoga, through meditation, which I didn't even know about at the time. And so he taught me these very basic yogic exercises, some sun salutations, some breathing, some omming and chanting. And that night I went home and I practiced these practices. And straight away, I remember very, very clearly the feeling of the habitual chatter of my mind shifting as I did these very simple practices. Breathing in, breathing out, arms raised, arms coming down. I was so anxious I could barely flex my arms, but I managed to do this, and I noticed this habitual chatter shift. And what emerged in place of the chattering mind and the anxious thoughts was pockets of joy, pockets of hope, pockets of contentment that I could feel in my body. I was going from a place of contractedness to a place of energetic expansion in the matter of only 10-15 minutes. This really sparked something in me. It really sparked a sense of wanting to go deeper into whatever this practice was and how it was helping me.